Welcome to Zero to Start, a podcast about Unity VR development from concept to Oculus Test Channel. We're your hosts, Ceciliana Trevino
and Melanie Menzel.
Melanie and I are here to take you behind the scenes of our quest as beginner VR devs to create a VR portfolio that Melanie could submit to the Oculus Start program for independent developers.
That's right. I'm going to be using Tilt Brush to create a visual landscape, and I'll be bringing that into Unity, where I'll combine it with my awesome didgeridoo playing and probably some other auxiliary sounds, bowls, or I have a really beautiful Rav drum that's very ethereal. For me, it's this project of the didgeridoo, right? It's like this sound healing, and the VR is the visual landscape that goes with that sound healing.
And we're back for our second episode.
Woohoo! We're progressing along, even though it's been Mercury Retrograde. Thank you very much.
We've been juggling different audio setups, which have been causing us various problems, and today we think we've found a good solution. So
yeah, let us know what you think of our sound. We want to hear from you.
An exciting update for the podcast is that we're now synced up to Spotify, so you can also find us there, and we're in the queue for approval on iTunes.
Terrific. Congratulations. Oh yeah, so speaking of tunes, you definitely want to check out the YouTube channel for our weekly playlists of our top tracks to keep us on task. That's how we keep focused. And my playlist is called Elements. Fresh start kind of energy in the songs. More towards the end, there's my mentor, didgeridoo mentor, Stephen Kent, powerful group he plays with called Transmission, performing at the Freight and Salvage, which is a local venue. And so I hope you get my vibes with the medicine man, medicine woman, you know, earthy, hippie.
Very Berkeley playlist.
Actually, that's the Appalachia Rising. They're from the Appalachian Mountains. And then I end it with my high school, one of my favorite high school graduating year.
Mixtape tracks.
Yeah. It's called Moments in Love. So
Classic
electronica.
That was the jam at the parties, right?
Totally the jam. That's right. Makeout jam.
Oh, okay.
Was it a makeout jam? I don't know. Yeah, so tell me about your playlist, Cece.
My playlist is the gamma and the third letter of the Greek alphabet and the trifecta of what we're doing in this project, which is learning VR development, making a podcast, and making YouTube playlists.
Trifecta.
And I liked, gamma rays and gamma energy.
Mm-hmm.
The first two tracks are by one of my all-time favorite musicians right now, Joji. And in his previous life, he is famous for the Harlem Shake meme. He was the character, Mr. Pinkman, I think is what his name is in the video of the Harlem Shake. But then he evolved and started doing his own original music now as Joji. The playlist also works off of the video thumbnails, which are a calming blue palette, evoking a cold, expansive landscape.
I noticed that.
That goes, oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, it's a very pale and levels of blue, which for me signify depth and imagination, because it's the beginnings of like the cold before it gets hot, right? It's that open blank canvas.
It's the bottom of the deep blue sea.
Right, it goes from underwater to the outer space blue.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of blues.
I know, man. We had the blues, dude. We found out something this week about Visual Studio.
Yeah, like we didn't even need to install it. The name of our first episode is First Things First.
First Things First.
Installing Visual Studio, except now, on second thought, in our second episode, we didn't even need to install it. And why was that, Melanie?
We found out from the website that, quote, Visual Studio is the default C# script editor for Unity, and it is included in Unity Download Assistant as well as the Unity Hub installation tool, ... end quote.
That's right. It's an automatic install when you are installing Unity Hub. During the installation, you have to ensure that Visual Studio is checked in the list of components to install with Unity, which also will install the Unity Hub, which is the manager for your projects and the versions of Unity that you have on your system.
It's important to have a manager in your projects.
So which version of Unity did we get?
We got 2 of them.
Something in 2019 and 2018?
Definitely the 2018.
Which,
And 2017, I thought.
okay, so one point I wanted to bring up about the C# script editor is that through the pipeline of our process, Tilt Brush, Unity, Test Channel, we're not going to be writing original scripts as much as we might be adjusting or adapting and editing pre-existing scripts that are attached to some of the project files that we're going to be working with. And, you know, if there are other feature sets that we want to add, we can write some small scripts, but it's going to be very script light. This is something just to understand how to create an immersive environment and really focus on how audio is a driver for immersion. And sometimes when you do that, you know, I think when you're making VR, it's really easy to get carried away with all these things that you want to do and feel like the sky's the limit. But when you're beginning, 0 is your limit.
0 to start. So it's a really huge relief to know that I'm not going to have to be writing all the code for everything that I want to do. And also that keeping it simple is really the base idea to get the project put together and have the concept formed and as a project to submit.
And we'll be posting the link to that developer page called Getting Started with Visual Tools for Unity in the show notes, along with the other links that we've referenced in today's episode, as well as keeping track of what we're doing on Facebook in our group, 0 to Start. Order up.
Order up.
You accomplished something really awesome in your beginner journey, which was starting your first Unity account.
I know, I had all the right moves. You know, I made my little profile and my name, and
Did you get validated?
I got validated. Felt very validated, honestly. It was
Well, I don't think you can have an account without being validated.
right. Yeah, my license had to be validated, and then
And which one did you get? Because there's a couple of formats. I mean,
we just used the personal one, which is perfect for nonprofits and organizations that aren't going to be really trying to make money on the projects that we're creating, and hopefully it can be an expansive platform for multiple people to come and learn how to use this technology and develop.
and so now you've got a developer account. You know, it's funny, I've been working in VR, made my first VR piece in 2016 for the Gear VR using a Samsung device that I hadn't worked on Android before, no background as an app developer. My background's in documentary film. And seeing how fast things move from when I started, the way that you work with Unity and how you install, it's just funny that, you know, through this opportunity of working with a beginner, I can see the latest things that are happening, because in my system at home, Visual Studio is already installed. I did it, it was the first thing I had to do. And I also had to install Android SDK and learn what an API was, and all of these things that now seem like I learned how to tie my shoes a little bit, and how even with the newer, you know, platforms that come out and the versions of them not working with the older versions or change, you know, all of these components have to work together. And when we were trying to install Unity, we had issues with getting the validation, right? A little bit. It's not, do we know what happened with that? Do we know it? We got you get a validation file.
No, you just clicked through and then something else happened. You closed a couple things and then we redid it, and then it worked. The validation came up and like, oh, you got your license validated. But you know, I want to say something about your development process, and that I've been with you along the way when we first went to the VidCon conference and we were able to try out the 360 cameras.
The
as
Ricoh Theta.
beta testers.
That was
And
2015,
I think
2016?
15 maybe.
I think it was 15. I have a YouTube video of it.
Yeah, we can check back in the analogs of.
We'll put that in the show notes.
And I just remember how cool it was first that we were trying out this new technology, and that you came home and you're like, I got a theta. I'm like, wow. And then you learned how to use the stitching software and to be able to edit it. And you were taking photos of everybody. And I was like, wow, she's really like, she got some information and she's going to run with it. So
Thank you.
I'm along with the ride. I'm along with you on the ride here. So that was this week. What's up for next week?
A new playlist?
Yeah. I have a whole new idea. It's going to be rainbow themed with some more of my hippie connections.
Oh my God, Berkeley girl.
Think rainbow, like, either it's going to have like colors in the name of the title or in the band name or in the song.
For the Gamma, we're always looking to add Joji. He's got some very melancholy, happy-go-lucky combinations. He's an oddball and really a musician of our time who seems to really capture the zeitgeist of uncertainty, longing, and imagination. For me, my playlists, I think, are motivated by a feeling of skipping along and moving forward and, a one-track mind almost, like just,
Is that what you need for developing?
I mean, well, it's weird.
Silence.
Well, I was like, because there's so many curves in developing and there's so many rabbit holes that you can go down that I think you always have to get back to the main track. And to do that, you fall into a rhythm. And then you start to hit all these barriers, and everywhere you turn, there's a barrier. So that becomes daunting, and feeling almost this surrender that you have to have in the process of being a beginner, making simple mistakes, and being surrounded by people that are just so much better than you everywhere. They're more talented, they're more skilled, they have more experience. It's easy to get overwhelmed by all the greatness of the artists around you and wonder,
Why are you even trying? No.
right.
I don't actually feel like that
Okay.
at all, but
Right? Like, I want the Wi-Fi to work. I want, the power to come on and not be turned off.
you want your multiplayer game happening.
I want my multiplayer because I said I wanted it.
Because you're from the 80s and you want your MTV.
VR needs to be at that you want VR to be at that place where you flip a switch and it turns on and you don't even think about the magic of like electricity, right? You just know that if you flip that switch, the light is going to go on. And VR doesn't work like that, and certainly not a multiplayer.
What? But you're looking into the future in your magic ball there, Cece. You got the future down. We're just going to be able to turn it on and like go zip in. We're not even going to have exterior glasses. We're just going to be like chip in the brain.
Well, I think that
VR,
is like
AR, mixed reality on.
I'll believe that when we have flying cars.
Okay, that's coming too.
I was promised
I'm
flying
making
cars.
that next week.
We were all promised. Well, it's as easy as making a flying car, right? If it was that easy, we'd all be flying in cars.
Well, the Jetsons did it.
But that's a cartoon.
Okay. Well, there are robots and there are, Star Trek communicators or cell phones or, and lasers and, being able to do space
Gamma
travel
rays.
and gamma space travel out into the deep blue of the universe.
Deep blue universe.
Deep blue universe.
It's
Getting really late. It's getting late.
Melanie's like, really late. I'm like, it's getting a little late. You're like, no, it's really late here in the basement of the Matrix. So for our next episode, we will be installing Oculus integration in Unity and looking around at some of the prototypes and scenes that they have available for exploring and playtesting. And then if we get through that, probably tilt brush, but that might be for episode 4. So until then, check out Elements and the Gamma. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.